Hello and welcome to episode 3 of Inside Irons. I'm Chris Skoll, and joining me in the studio, the Antonio to my Yarmolenko, is the big man, Carlton Cole. Carlton, we're recording this episode after the Chelsea game, but before the Newcastle game. And it's a good job we have in place a 2-metre limit, because I would be hugging you right now and not letting go. What a result against Chelsea.
Oh, it's a great result. I think it's what everybody was expecting. No, I'm joking.
We were expecting, we were confident.
But to be honest, obviously these things, we needed this result, and we needed any sort of points on the table the last 3 games. And funnily enough, it's against my old club, as we was explaining in the last episode. And look, I'm just happy that we got the result. And Antonio was I wouldn't even say a beast, but he was the man that game.
Yeah, I always feel with West Ham, we just pull that win out. Just when you're about to give up hope, maybe, they pull a win out of somewhere. You've done it back in your day too. You never know what you're going to get at West Ham, and sometimes it is amazing.
It is amazing sometimes, but you got to understand that this is the whole point of being a West Ham fan and being connected to West Ham. There's ups and downs, there's highs and lows, but you just got to keep on going because you never know what's around the corner.
So, coming up on today's show, we've got an Academy special. Joining us here in the studio will be Anton Ferdinand, and joining us on Zoom will be Paul Konchesky and Joe Cole. So, Carlton, it's an Academy special. You're obviously involved with the Academy, the under-18s, I believe. Give us a little flavour of what we might expect coming out of the Academy over the next few years.
Oh, there's loads to be looking forward to at the moment. There's a lot of young English prospects coming through. Especially you've got Jamal Baptiste, that I'm a massive fan of.
Heard a lot about him. Yeah. Is the hype
well,
real?
He's training with the first team at the moment, so I think he's definitely a massive prospect. He's going to be the next Anton Ferdinand, hopefully, or the next Rio. Do you know what I mean? So hopefully we can get these boys on the right track and try and help them to their transition into being a professional footballer full time.
Well, and speaking of the Academy, we've got an Academy graduate in the studio today. 138 league games and 5 goals for West Ham between 2003 and 2008. It's Anton Ferdinand.
The punch. Oh my goodness! Anton Ferdinand!
And welcome to Inside Irons, friend of the show, Anton Ferdinand. How you doing, Anton?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
So we're recording this before the Newcastle game, but after the Chelsea game. What a result last night, Anton.
Yeah, it was great, especially against Chelsea. Yeah, great result. I mean, typical us though. You know, the hard one, the one that people think that we'll get nothing from, we win it. It's about taking what we done yesterday into the games that really do matter, which are the ones that are around with teams around us. You know, that's where we've got to start picking up points.
You're a proper West Ham fan these days. What were you doing when Yarmolenko scored that winner?
I was jumping all over my house. The fact that it was against Chelsea, I was jumping all over my house.
On the couch and that?
Everything. I nearly done my hamstring a lot. You know how it is, Coley. The hamstring nearly went.
I've done my hammy before. Been jumping around,
so yeah, it was unbelievable. Not just the relief. We got a bit of breathing space, and that's cemented the win. Do you know what I mean? It was just unbelievable, and to see the boys' reaction, you can see it meant so much to the boys, you know, and it was just fantastic to watch as a fan.
Yeah, so good. We had Rob Green on last week. Have you seen Rob Green's hair? What do you make of it?
Terrible. Absolutely terrible. I'm more concerned.
What's he out here looking like, mate?
To be honest with you, I'm not sure.
What is he going for? He's on the handlebars. Mate. Listen,
is he a biker now?
If he rocked up into our change room looking like that,
curtains.
Oh, it's curtains for a minute. It's curtains.
Finished. To be fair, he used to get it anyway. But yeah, he'd get finished.
We've got Joe Cole coming up on the show later on. Remember his hair? He had that red J down. He's had shocking hair.
Let's have it right. He can do that. He was he was a joke. I'm not saying Rob Green wasn't. Rob Green was a fantastic goalkeeper, but in terms of the way they carried himself, Rob Green just ain't that guy.
He's not a flair player.
No, whereas Joe Cole doing Rabonas in the FA Youth Cup final and that. You know what I mean? He's a joke. He can do that.
Yeah, he can do that.
Well, we've got a bit of an Academy flair to kind of this episode today. You came through the Academy. Your brother came through the Academy. Joe Cole did. Frank Lampard Jr. did as well. I wondered, what do you think is the special sauce? Why are West Ham able to continually pump out such world-class footballers?
I think, especially from when Rio and Frank came through, because they were the start of the new generation really coming through in terms of Tony Carr's purple patch, even though he had a purple patch before that. But his second purple patch that he had in terms of Tony Carr, a lot of it was down to the scouting. They were going into to areas where there was a lot of council estate kids who had a bit about them, they had a bit of grit about them, a bit of determination, and we as a club was able to get them. And then when they came into the football club, the coaching was second to none. But the coaches understood what we were like as kids from a council estate, you know.
And they knew the culture.
They knew the culture. Paul Heffer, unbelievable.
Yeah, unbelievable.
And I'm
Still
talking from my
academy today.
From my personal experiences, Kevin Keane, Paul Heffer, Peter Braybook, God rest his soul, who seriously, if it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't have come through at West Ham. He really pushed me. And then I went into Tony Carr, and Tony Carr took me to another level. And then Roger Cross in the reserve team. I think they all of them played a part, you know. But one thing they all had was, and where they're consistent, was they made sure you was all right as a person first and foremost, but pushed you to get the best out of yourself, you know. And it wasn't just about being a West Ham player; it was trying to cement a game trying to cement a career in the game. Yeah. Or if you don't become a footballer, being a good person outside of football. That's what it was about for West Ham, and I think that's why we had such a great. That's why we have such a big name in the academy circuit.
Yeah.
Academy of Football.
Yeah, mate, that's what they call it that. So you signed for West Ham, 9 years old, and then at the age of 18, I believe, you made your debut against Preston, 2003, 18 years old. Great win that, 2-1, David Connolly embracing the fans. What did it mean to you to finally make your debut for West Ham?
Do you know what? I was on the bench against Man United the year before. It's the first time I was ever on the bench, and that was unbelievable. You know, and Rio was at United at the time, but he was injured, didn't play that game. But that was unbelievable. But then to the following season, make my debut, I played the whole of pre-season, and I was playing well, playing at right back. But I still didn't think I was going to start the season, because like we need to get promoted. And I was thinking, he ain't going to put me in, Denver ain't going to put me in. And I remember on the way up there, it was just like, it was a bit of a shambles on the way up there. We picked up Neil Mellor on the way.
Where? Liverpool?
So I've heard this rumour.
At service station, we picked him up. He ain't never trained with us.
Seriously?
Never met him, picked him up in the service station.
I think this might have been exclusive.
Was it a loan?
It was a loan. So 2003, we've obviously sold a lot of players after relegation. I'd always heard the rumour we were literally picking up players at the service station on the way to the game.
Seriously, we picked up Neil Mellor on the way to Preston.
Wow. And did you sign on the coach?
And this is why Dave Connolly was so peed off with not starting, because Dave Connolly and Defoe played the majority of the pre-season together. And then we signed
some bloke at Toddington Services.
we signed Neil Mellor. We picked him up at the service station, and he played the next day.
Wow.
Started the next day. But like,
that's shambolic.
not just that, the aircon had broke on the coach.
You're joking. Oh my God.
Was it hot?
Was it hot? Seriously, that's one thing I remember about that day was the heat, and the travelling up the heat was a disgrace. Seriously.
So it was just a hot box, microwave.
Sauna.
Sauna, losing weight as you're going up there.
You had some eventful coach trips around that time, because didn't you go play Rotherham away, and then you refused to use the dressing room, or you had to got changed on the coach?
We got changed. Some of us got changed on the coach. I didn't.
Where
I was
did
a
you
young
go?
lad. We got changed.
You went inside?
Yeah, like I'm talking like the dressing room at Rotherham's old stadium was smaller than...
Behind the bar here?
That don't even come close.
It's a cubicle. It's a cubicle.
The first 11
one
couldn't
in, one
get
out.
changed. The first 11 couldn't get changed, so as a squad meant to get changed. It was mad. It was crazy.
But that's what they do. They make it awful for you, the away teams. It's a psychological battle.
Not anymore, but
that may be the case in the Premier League, but I think at Rotherham they probably just couldn't afford a bigger dressing room.
Oh, maybe that as well. That was their excuse, though. That was their excuse.
It was smaller than, you know, the wet room in the first team dressing room at Chadwell Heath.
It was smaller than that.
In the first team dressing room at Chadwell Heath, where the ice baths are.
Yeah.
Smaller than that.
Oh my
Get on that, it was smaller than that.
Yeah, this is really small, by the way. It's not even changing room friendly. You can't even call it a changing room.
So I'm saying, if starting 11 couldn't get changed in there altogether. Impossible. So we'd done that, and then I was playing the game, and it was live on Sky, and it was hot, and like Rio come to watch it because he's my debut and stuff, and David James is in goal. Don Hutchison's playing ahead of me. I'm playing right back, and I'm warming up, and I'm like, this is unbelievable. Like I'm gone from being in the stand to now being on the pitch, and I'm about to play my first game for West Ham as a fan. First and foremost, like it was unbelievable. Then the first 2 minutes, it was my fault for a goal. And I swear.
Seriously?
I swear.
Oh man, how did you react though? What was the reaction?
Like the ball come in, like, I was, you know me, casual. They like, the ball come in, I didn't even check my shoulder. I just let the ball run, thinking I was going to be showing composure. Let the ball run. Eddie Lewis tapped it in. I said that.
Oh my
and
God.
I swear, and that's what the West Ham fans were behind that goal. And all I could hear, Ferdinand? Oh, Ferdinand? He's rubbish. I can't say what they were saying.
Obviously.
Rubbish. David James, you shouldn't even be playing.
Is that what he said to you?
I'm telling you.
Oh my God.
You shouldn't even be playing. You ruined me.
Wow.
Yeah?
Wow.
And I swear down, I'm 8 years old at the time. I'm walking back to my position. The ball was about to kick off. I'm looking at the sky and I'm going...
Praying.
I'm just going...
Someone
I'm
help
not sure this is for me.
After all these years of training.
Swear, but then I just said, you know what? I worked this hard to get here.
Yeah.
It's either sink or swim, and I ain't sinking. That come over me, and I was looking in the sky, saying, I ain't sinking. And thankfully, that was the only mistake I made in the game. We went on to win the game 2-1. You know, and that was the start of my West Ham career, but it started
terrible.
Well,
but you had to dig deep to find that thing inside you to say, do you know what? Mind over matter now.
Do you know what? That's one thing that...
It built you.
100%. I mean, I knew I was mentally strong because I had the pressure of Rio, so I knew I was mentally strong. But that let me know I was ready for men's football. And you got to remember, I never ever went out on loan. That was my first ever first team game. I never went on loan ever. So that was my first taste of actual first team football. And it was live on Sky. So it was there for the masses. It wasn't just
for the masses.
It wasn't just the West Ham fans that were at the game that saw it. Every West Ham fan around the world saw it. It was like, wow.
Who's this geezer?
In my head, automatically, I'm going,
wow.
They're just going to think I'm rubbish. Because they compare me to Rio. So they're just going to think I'm rubbish. And that's what it was. That was going through my head. And I was like, you know what? It's time to start swimming, Anton.
Oh, man. So you made that debut in 2003, and then you stayed till 2008. 5 years. What a roller coaster 5 years in West Ham's history. That first season, playoff final lose. Second season, playoff final win. FA Cup final, great escape, and then a bit of stability after that. What like I say, a roller coaster of a time.
Do you know what? It was the best time of my life, though, as a footballer. The best time of my life. Playing for the club I support. Wearing my heart on the sleeve every game. I mean, I don't think anyone, correct me if I'm wrong, as a fan, I don't think anyone saw from me someone who didn't love the club. I always played like I was a fan. I didn't play as just a professional footballer at West Ham Football Club, West Ham United Football Club. It was always, I'm playing as a fan. I know and Coley will tell you, coming into a dressing room, I was young, but I spoke with authority, but I spoke from the heart, with a bit of fan in me, because not sure if you was at the game when we escaped
Manchester.
Up in Manchester, but before that, when we played at Charlton and we lost 4-0.
Yeah, I remember that.
I've heard about the half time. Was that you who
after
did
the game? And I let off after the game, and I was like Alan Kirby was saying this along the lines of, "We got to do better next week," and that's what I would be hearing from Pards for the previous month. We got to do better next week, boys. We got to do better next week, boys. And I was like, I don't want to hear this rubbish. We got to do better next week. The fans were just paid to come to a game, and we've been absolutely terrible. That's not on. And when I heard that from Alan Kirbishley, I just lost myself. And I said, got to do better next week. So what about now? I can't say what I was saying.
Yeah, we can imagine.
But we can imagine.
What about now? And and I turned to the boy. I said the manager. I said to him, listen, let people know if they're not doing well. He went, you're not doing well. I said, then let me know. Then tell me. Don't just say we got to do better next week. I don't want to hear that. And I turned to the boys. I said, listen, if any one of you get a rollicking from the manager and you can't take it, it's best you're not here.
Yeah.
I said, because if you can't take a rollicking from this manager, you can't play in front of these fans. Impossible. I said, so if you can't, then get out.
Yeah.
See, these are the stories that you don't hear behind the scenes. So
Like-
this is brilliant.
I always think as well to come out of a relegation battle like that, you need a big row.
You do.
Listen,
Yeah,
you
you
do.
do.
100% you do. Out of the row has to come unity.
Yeah.
If say for instance, so my rant wasn't about, there was no malice in it.
Yeah.
There was no agenda for everyone to
No
look at
picking individuals.
Yeah, it wasn't a case of people looking like, oh, Anton's just in it for himself. It was about the club. It had nothing to do with me personally. It was, or any player personally. It was about the football club as a whole. And that's why people sat there and took what I had to say. If anyone, like, I know for a fact, if Teddy Sheringham thought it was
out of place,
or he thought I had an agenda while I was doing it, he would have shut me down.
Shut you down, yeah.
He would have shut me down, but because, not that I probably wouldn't have had it at the time, because I was that far gone at the time, if I'm honest. but
it meant something.
But it meant something to me that much.
Everyone
that
knew and could
everyone
feel it.
knew, they could feel it in me. Like, everyone talks about Scott Parker's rant at half time.
At West Brom.
West Brom, I wasn't there at the time. I know a lot of people
I had a
talk
say in it
about
as well. It wasn't
Do you know
just
what I mean?
Scott. There was about 3 or 4 of us. But I obviously, when I done the interview afterwards, I said my part. I think Matthew Upson said his part, and obviously Scott was the icing on the cake. So I understand where you're coming from, but as long as it's not personal to a player or anything like that, and it's a team, and as you said, if you come out at the end of it and with unity and everyone's on the same page, then that's when it's worked.
100%. I mean, like, even Lucas Neal.
Yeah.
Remember the conversation we had as a team when, remember the manager and that tried to come into the meeting room and Lucas said, nah, this is players only.
Yeah.
And basically Lucas said, listen, we know what it takes to get out of this, to stay in this league, right? We know what it takes, and it takes hard work, right? We have to trust this room, we need to trust ourselves and make sure we work hard every day.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to work hard, there's the door.
Yeah. Simple.
Yeah, and that's what was said, right, by the captain, without the manager involved. If you don't want to be it, I'll tell the manager, that's fine. I'll tell him, you got to go. And you don't train with us no more. So that was the start of it.
Leadership.
And then that game come and it was a 6-pointer.
Yeah, and then it just started.
And then then I let off, and it was like after that we started to go on and run.
I'm not saying the Arsenal game.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's because of me. Far from because it's me.
It was a
Because
whole team effort.
it's a squad game. It's a team effort. But there was something about them two situations, them two arguments, them two statements that made players in the dressing room wake up and go, we need to sort ourselves out.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Before we talk about the Burnley game, what's your favourite ever West Ham match that you played in?
My favourite West Ham match.
Got to be that goal that goal.
Fulham.
Yeah, that's my favourite goal.
Yeah. What about the match?
My favourite match, probably the first time I played against Rio at Upton Park.
Against Man U.
Yeah, first time I ever played against Rio at Upton Park was unbelievable.
Under the lights.
Yeah, but my favourite ever game was probably Ipswich game away.
The second time round of the playoffs.
Yeah.
Was that 2-0?
2-0.
Harewood, Zamora.
Yeah, that's probably one of my favourite games.
Why?
Because the previous year we got to the playoff final, lost it. I'd played left back the last 6 games. And
How'd you do?
I played well. Played well. And then
You sure?
Yeah.
There's that confidence.
And then the playoffs come and Pars took me out of the team. And then the playoff final, I wasn't even on the bench.
Wow.
Because Rufus Brevet had come back, so he put Rufus on the bench.
Yeah, that's hard to take.
And it killed me. So reaching the final, and in the style that we done it, and the home game, it was my fault for the goal.
We went 2-0 up and they pegged it back to 2-2.
Yeah, and it was my fault for the goal. Mine and Jimmy Walker's, we clashed it and the ball dropped to Darren Bent. And he put it in. So then to go away, and obviously I'm playing with Elliot Ward. We've come through the youth team setup. We played together from under 14s all the way into the first team. We were playing together, and it was just unbelievable to know that we'd reached the final, and I knew this year I was going to play. So that probably was my favourite game, other than the West Ham Man United game.
You'd arrived.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like you'd arrived.
Yeah.
Lovely stuff. All right, up next is Burnley. Let's take a look at the head-to-head. So here's the head-to-head. Burnley shading it over the last 6 games. West Ham's 2 wins, the first coming at Turf Moor, May 2017, a 2-1 win with goals from Sofiane Feghouli and Andre Ayew. The second, a 4-2 win at home in November 2018. Anderson double, Arnie and Chicharito on the score sheet. Anton, Burnley, we fancy getting some points out of this, don't we?
Yeah, we have to look at this. We're at home, even though the crowd's not here. We need to be looking at it as a 3-point game, you know. It's going to be beefy, looking at the yellow cards 100%. But as I say, after winning against Chelsea, the momentum surely is with us.
Yeah, Carlton, those yellow cards. It's one of those games, isn't it? This is going to be fiery. I don't think we like each other.
It's the battle of the claret and blue, isn't it? It's like who's worthy of wearing them colours.
Anton, Yarmolenko, he came off the bench. What an impact he made against Chelsea.
Yeah, he did. I'll be honest with you. I was screaming, pass, pass.
I thought
to Fornals. I was screaming, pass, screaming at the telly. But then he whipped it in, and I was buzzing, you know. But yeah, he come on. He done what a sub's meant to do. He come on and made an impact. It's like he come on and thought, listen, every time I get the ball, I'm going to make sure something happens. So the manager has to play me.
Yeah.
And that's the best way you can be as a sub coming on in a game.
Carlton, we were chatting about Mikel Antonio. He had a great game against Chelsea. He powered through that 90 minutes and still laid on an amazing assist for Yarmolenko. Not bad for a utility striker.
Mate, I've taught him well, haven't I? Been watching my clips. Yeah. To be honest, right now, I was very impressed with what he done. He got the ball and he laid it off. Yeah. Made another angle. Received it again. Had a look and just it was perfect pass through. And that pass, I didn't think he had it in him. Yeah. But it was so perfect for him just to run on. He didn't have to break his stride, and then Yarma was going, cut inside. As soon as he cut inside, I knew it was just going to go rifling in the bottom bins. So it was just good play all round as well. So you got to understand, our defending was quite good yesterday as well. So I'm just happy that the boys have put in the right effort on the training field.
Yeah, and so we mentioned Yarmolenko, but obviously Haller's on the verge of coming back. Wilshere made an appearance against Chelsea. Feels like it might be coming together, Anton.
Yeah, we're getting players out of the treatment room. Yeah. It's a squad game. You know, you need a squad to stay in the Premier League or to win anything.
Especially like now when you've got so many regular games coming up.
100%. So you know you need players coming out of the treatment room, and we're lucky enough we've got that at the moment.
Yeah, and let's have a quick word on Burnley. They've beaten Watford, they've beaten Palace recently, both in those 1-0 wins since they lost 5-0 to City. It looks like they've kind of turned it around again. They seem like they're pulling something together.
Listen, there's no getting away from it. They're a good Premier League team. You know, they're not good on the eye in terms of the way they play football, people will say, but they're a good Premier League team. They're established in the Premier League.
Yeah.
You know, and Sean Dyche has done a fantastic job. But we're West Ham. And I will always say it, we're West Ham. You know, at home, these games we should be winning.
Yeah.
Right. It's time to get off the fence. Let's have some predictions. Carlton, I asked you first and we won.
What did I say last week?
I think you said 2-1.
Ooh. It wasn't
2-1.
It was 2-1 for a little bit as well.
Yeah. Double that and you would have been right.
All right, I'm gonna go 2-0.
2-0 West Ham.
Clean sheet, yeah, clean sheet Fabi. Because I thought Fabs was good yesterday as well, so I'm gonna go clean sheet Fabianski 2-0.
2-0. Anton.
I'm going 2-1.
Yeah.
Oof.
I'm going 2-1.
We'd take that.
And a win's a win.
Yeah.
But I just think 2-1. I think we'll go.
Who are their goal scorers? Who have they got?
They're injured.
Exactly. So that's why I'm saying 2-0.
Clean sheet.
I think there's a clean sheet.
Yeah. So, Chris Wood, Ashley Barnes, they're all injured, aren't they?
Yeah.
They didn't think that. Yeah.
So I'm thinking we could actually come through this unscathed. We just need to be able to knock on the door and score our chances like we scored yesterday. I think we had like 3 chances on target and we scored 3 goals. We need that same consistency in this game.
Well, we mentioned there our last win over Burnley, which was a 4-2 win in November 2018. But Carlton, isn't that the game where someone introduced you to Ray Stewart and you thought that introduced you to A. Stewart?
Oh, yes, A. Stewart. So, Ray Stewart, A. Stewart. It's easy to mix up, you know what I mean?
You've still got his name wrong now. You've still just got his name wrong.
You know what I'm talking
Ray
about.
Stewart.
You know I've got speech impediments.
How can you still get his name wrong?
Stewart.
No, yeah,
it's close.
He went Ray Stewart and a Stewart.
This is what I do, bro.
He's a living legend.
It's an entertainment.
He goes down as one of probably West Ham's best ever right back, by the way.
Is it?
Yeah.
After you.
Yeah.
Nah.
Well, actually, I think we've got the footage of you apologising right here. Let's take a look.
Oh, hello, Mr. Cole. How are you?
How are you, sir?
I've heard about you today.
You're back speaking to me.
Are you come to speak to Ray Stewart?
He's giving me a free holiday.
Do you know who this man is?
Listen.
Come on, bro.
Listen.
Come on,
I need to get on camera. I need a public apology, yeah? It's a public apology
Redeem himself.
to the legend that is Ray Stewart. I got thrown off by the coat, yeah? And it's messed my life up. I got thrown off by the coat.
And it messed my life up.
I felt so bad, bro. Oh, mate.
Don't worry about it. I don't hold grudges.
Do you know what happened?
Yes, they told me.
It's
It's a good job I weren't there.
Do you know what? Because I've seen so many people today.
Trust me, I know.
We see people every day. We don't
It's easily
No,
done.
but you don't know the amount of people I've seen.
Good picture.
I'm glad to get in
That's
the
a good
I'm glad to get in the pictures. I was taking them earlier.
You look good.
Listen. You know,
I like that.
Do you know what? Earlier, yeah, I saw Stevie Lomas downstairs.
Yeah.
And he's basically battered me.
Did you tell him?
Because I told him exactly what happened. He's like, flipping Cole, you're better than that. I was like, listen, mate, it was all a rush. And then the jacket threw me off.
There we go. Anton, you'd never make a mistake like that, would you?
No chance. But him.
Don't put anything past me, mate. I can tell you that.
Hey, he's still got his name wrong. Get on that.
Listen, I'll try my best, didn't I?
Well, that was Watch With. Let's take a look at the highlights from that 4-2.
This could be a chance. Arnautovic past Joe Hart, and West Ham take the lead. Arnautovic got behind the Burnley defence. The pass was perfect, and it's past Joe Hart. West Ham lead with 10 minutes on the clock here at London Stadium, 1-0 against Burnley. It's with Westwood forward to Goodmanson, and Burnley have an equaliser as the game heads towards half-time. It was Westwood who rolled it forward to Goodmanson, who just split the West Ham defence, who stood still, and out of absolutely nowhere, it's West Ham 1, Burnley 1. With Arnautovic, Diangana in front of him, flicks the ball to Felipe Anderson. Anderson inside the penalty area, through Joe Hart and in. West Ham back in front. Arnautovic to Diangana. He found the Brazilian, who only had Joe Hart to beat. He played it through his legs and in. West Ham 2, Burnley 1.
And that was great open play as well. That come from Diangana's ball out wide to Anderson. Even though he got whacked after as well, and the referee will pull the player back and book him, but that was wonderful.
Brady again, left-footed out swinger, drops the edge of the 6-yard box, and it's headed in, and it is another equaliser, and it's Chris Woods. The substitutes have linked up exactly as Sean Dyche would have planned. A corner from Brady onto the head of Chris Woods, and it's now 2-2 here at London Stadium. West Ham 2, Burnley 2. Now Diangana plays it back to Arnautovic, left-footed strike, might find Anderson, and it's in! West Ham are back ahead! Anderson past Hart, and will that be enough to give West Ham all 3 points? Felipe Anderson past Joe Hart yet again. West Ham 3, Burnley 2. Felipe Anderson, just over the head of Hernandez. Chested down by Antonio. Finds Hernandez. Past Joe Hart. And West Ham have all 3 points. Wonderful link-up play to pass it to Javier Hernandez to seal the victory here at London Stadium. West Ham 4, Burnley 2.
What a game that was. You almost forget about that. Up next on the show, 157 league games and 15 goals in 2 spells for the Hammers, sandwiched between a spell at Chelsea. We caught up with academy graduate Joe Cole. Welcome to Inside Irons, Joe Cole. How are we doing, Joe?
I'm very well. How are we?
Yeah, very good. We were talking about when you had that red J dyed into your hair a few years ago, and your hair is looking as good now as it's ever done. Look at that.
Mate, it's looking better than it's ever done. Let's be honest. Like, come on, I've had some bad barnets over the years. I've got to hold my hands up to that.
The lockdown's done you well, Geese. I'm not going to lie to you.
I needed some refreshing, mate. Had a look around, moisturised regularly, got some sleep. Mrs. is all over me, Cole.
Mate, I don't know what she's seeing, to be fair.
Joe, what would you say is your worst West Ham haircut?
All got to be the J, ain't it? Although, like, listen, that was one game, and that lives to me now. So that was a pre-season game, just like. Yeah, it was sort of a bet. It was sort of like some off the cuff. It wasn't even.
Who influeed you, Geese? Who influenced you?
Do you know, like, if I'm ever managing someone like Paul Pogba and I have to start pulling him up on haircuts and how he behaves off the pitch, like, he's just going to pull that one off the internet and say.
Do you know what, Joe? Anton was bigging up the haircut. He was like, "You're a flair player. You can have a haircut like that."
No, listen, I like the mod look, to be honest with you. But the problem with that was, like, when I went out on a Saturday night, it looked the nuts, I must admit. But in the game time, it was all over the gaff. It just looked like so it never really, like, the Sky Sports never really got to see the best of it. They needed to be with me on a Saturday night when I was out on the
They needed you have player cam. Remember when player cam was around? They needed you for that, mate.
They didn't follow you into faces.
Yeah, mate, listen, that barnet was unreal. Oh, I wish I had that back now.
I can't believe you're saying it's unreal.
Joe, I know you got divided loyalties, West Ham and Chelsea, but obviously we played the other night, and that was a really important 3 points for West Ham.
Yeah, like, what a performance, because I thought Chelsea were a little bit lacklustre, and obviously whenever you see Nobes not starting in the team, you always worry a little bit because he really does hold it together. Like, but they've done so well. I'm a big fan of Suchek. I just think Antonio's such a handful up front, and he's like, you know, he's fast becoming a pivotal figure in the team. I thought David Moyes got it right. I thought West Ham were excellent. They stuck in there and they took their chances. And when Yarmolenko cut in on his left foot, you knew it was a goal. He's got that in the locker, so it's a fantastic result.
Yeah, really important. Now, Joe, we chatted the other day on mine and Carlton's podcast, and you shared a story about the first day of your second spell with West Ham. You were sat there in the canteen having breakfast. Can you take over the story?
It was in the news 2 or 3 days before I was coming back to West Ham, and and it finally got done. I went into training on the Monday, and I'm sitting there having my omelette with the boys. I think I had my kit on at this time as well. And Coley's just walked in, and he's like seen me, and he's gone, "Yes, Coley, what was happening, mate? What are you doing here? What are you here for? You coming to say hello?" He had no clue I'd signed for the club. This is the star striker. I took my glasses off, and he didn't even know I was turning up. I've signed for West Ham, mate. He went, quality, geese. And then he just went and proceeded to eat a 6-egg omelette or whatever he's done in the movie.
Oh, mate, I love this geezer. Coley, I've got so much love for you. You tell it like I'm the dumbest guy in the whole world, you know, and I am.
Joe, we've got a bit of an academy flavour on the show today. Anton came through the academy, as did you. We've had a lot of amazing world-class players come through the academy. What is it about West Ham that makes them able to turn out this regular kind of conveyor belt of world-class talent?
Do you know what? I did an interview yesterday for a friend of mine, and they was talking about the West Ham Academy and then the Chelsea Academy, because they're producing players now. But what I described it to, I thought the West Ham Academy in the 90s, I described as, it was a beautiful accident, because there wasn't like they had much funds. it was the people in the building. You can have the best high-tech equipment, but it was all about the people, the Tony Carrs, the Peter Braybrookes, the Jimmy Friths, Brian Nichols, Paul Heffers, you know, the medical, like they was all just really good people who had a way of just sort of teaching young players and young men how to be good footballers and how to be good humans. I think if you look at all the lads who come through, you know, myself, Anton, Rio, Frank, Jermaine, Glenn Johnson's, I mean, all good professionals and all had like a, you know, understood the game, but also understood what it meant. You know, it was just, I think it was just the people. It was the people. And when them people started getting older, as they inevitably do, I felt the club maybe didn't replace them as well. You know, went a bit sort of 21st century, and you know, I think that really affected the club in that sense. I've got the door. Hold on, 1 second. Mrs. has probably bought something. Do you know what I mean? One of them ones. Amazon. Like, what's happening, geez? Cheers, mate. Have a nice day. We're gonna cut that, right?
No, we're keeping that.
Anton, I wanted to ask you, like, Joe, you know, you came in just towards the end of that golden period of all that West Ham Academy talent coming through. Was there a bit of pressure because you had Joe Cole in the England team just a few years ahead of you in the academy?
Yeah, there was pressure. I had my own pressure because of Rio, obviously. But like Joe said, the people in the building, they made it better for the guys coming through, and they brought up younger players to help other players that were coming through. And I remember, not sure if you remember, Joe, one of my first training sessions with you guys, we done little boxes, little 5v2s, and I weren't the best in it. I weren't the best in the 5v2 at that time. I was a bit nervous and that, and I just remember hearing you. We was walking to go and do something else, and you was talking to him. I was thinking, right, he's actually chatting to me here. By the way, Joe Cole was chatting to me, and he was going, "How many times did I go in? Not once, not once." And that the pride that he had by not going in the middle in a 5v2, the pride, it stuck with me to go, you know what? They're the levels I need to get to, where I'm walking away from a 5v2 going, I didn't even go in. And to be fair, like, because I looked up to Joe, because he's a fantastic player and came through the youth academy, when he was looking at me and talking to me, it meant so much to me. He probably don't even realise that, but just little things that he was saying to me helped me go on to the next level, and it made me want to help younger players coming in. But a lot of it was from Joe.
Wow.
Yes, Joe.
High standards.
Do you know what, Anton? And I believe in that, because obviously now we're going into coaching or whatever we do at some point. And I was lucky enough. I had your brother and Frank, you know, and they made me feel welcome. And then, you know, the senior players in the dressing room. So I made a conscious effort, you know, because although I was 21 at West Ham, I was in the England squad, and you feel like a senior player in that sense, because you know the stature and everything. I think it's so important when you talk about the cultures in clubs, and you've got to really groom them, because you want people in. I felt a responsibility every time a younger player come into the group or a new player to make sure they felt at ease, and that I kept that right the way through my career, and I think it's so important. And then you would hopefully, knowing you, I know you, Anton, you definitely would have done. The next batch of players that come through, you would have done the same. And that's how you keep a culture going. And that's why your clubs like your Barcelonas and your Manchester Uniteds, you know, they continue success bringing players through, because you get to know what's expected of you at the club, don't you?
I want to ask you a few questions about your time at West Ham. Who do you think was your most underrated teammate that you played with?
That's a great question. Really, that's got me thinking. Anton, I don't know if he played with him, maybe trained with him, but I always thought Trevor Sinclair never got the love he should have got. He only played 10 times for England, and he was unbelievable. I know he was at his absolute peak when he was at West Ham, the first, like when he was at West Ham. But what a player he was! Did you play with him, Anton?
No, I trained with him. I didn't play with him, but yeah, I fully agree with you. He was a joke. His application day in, day out, his fitness levels were an absolute joke.
Is it, yeah?
But his technique was phenomenal. You ask him to get a ball out of his feet and drill one, he would hit wherever he wanted to hit.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. What about your best ever goal for West Ham? What would you say?
Mate, do you know what? Again, my first one, like, it was just like, the world opened up. Like it was only a tap in. It was the winning goal in the last minute of a cup.
Was it Birmingham in the League Cup?
Birmingham, mate. Yeah, like.
Cole comes to meet it and scores. Joe Cole's first ever goal for West Ham has turned defeat surely into victory.
Like it was just that feeling. Like you ask any footballer the first time, and I think because it was the last minute winner, it was on Sky and everything, and it was like proper. I remember a proper like when you go and do the press at Birmingham after the game, you sort of walk from one stand to the other through like a cage where the Birmingham fans are there. And I would have been 17, 18 at the time, so I was still a kid myself. Like, and then it was a big game for them, Birmingham. I think it was a quarter-final or something like that. And they, the fans were just spitting at us and growling at us like grown men, like old enough to be my dad and granddad. Do you know what I mean? You're like, I remember thinking, whoa, this is serious now. This ain't, you know. But that was an interesting experience in itself.
Great celebrations from you after that, didn't you? Did you jump straight into the crowd, the away fans?
You take off your top, geez.
Yeah, I was renowned for that. I can't believe they stopped that. I love that.
Did you take off your top? Did you take off your top?
No. I didn't have any muscles like I do now.
Keep that picture chest out of sight.
So we're looking ahead to the Burnley game next Wednesday at home. We've obviously, got the wind in our sails after we beat Chelsea. What do you think the score is going to be against Burnley? How do you see it going?
You never know what's going to turn up with Burnley. Like they go. I watched them and they was atrocious about 6 months ago. And then the next game they went to Old Trafford and won. So they're hard work. But I think they'll get the job done. Just West Ham. I think we'll win 2-1.
Lovely stuff. Thank you for your time, Joe. Are you going to drink that bottle of rosé that you're leaning the phone against, or?
It gets dark, Coley. You know that. You know what I mean? That's when I operate.
Great stuff. Joe Cole, thank you.
Love you, boys. Have a good day.
That was Joe Cole. Anton, he sets really high standards for himself and people around him, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does, but that's what must have made him the player that he was and had the career that he had, But like he said, it was these grounding at West Ham that made him like that. You know, not like us to help me the way that he did around that time shows the type of person he is, but his own personal pride to look at me, who's someone who's come from the youth team and say, look, how many times did I go in? How many times do you go in? Do you know what I mean? That there just shows you that how his personal pride got him to levels that he got to, not just his ability, but to then go on and play for England and be fantastic for England. That comes from within.
Yeah, super competitive. I never really thought of Joe Cole like that. Everyone just says he's naturally gifted, but...
Well, we had him on our podcast and then we kind of got an insight to how he actually thinks. And he's so competitive, but he's got that childish competitiveness. He wants to he'll go home, if someone's better than him, he wants to do better than that person. So he'll go home back to the drawing board, practice, and then come back and say, I can do more than you now. Do you know what I mean? And that's why he got to the level he has. And that's why he's such a king.
Yeah, absolutely. That was Joe Cole. So, up next, Burnley. Let's take a look at our top 5 goals against the Clarets.
With Arnautovic, Diangana in front of him. Flicks the ball to Felipe Anderson. Anderson inside the penalty area. Through Joe Horton in. West Ham back in front. Arnautovic to Diangana. He found the Brazilian who only had Joe Hart to beat. He played it through his legs and in. West Ham 2, Burnley 1.
And that was great open play as well. That come from Diangana's ball out wide to Anderson. Even though he got whacked after as well, and the referee will pull the player back and book him, but that was wonderful.
Sacco to run at the defence. This time he's got Carl Jenkinson on the overlap. It's Jenkinson's cross and it's 2-0. This time it's Enner Valencia. A carbon copy down the right hand side. And West Ham have scored twice in 5 minutes. This time it's Jenkinson with a perfect ball in, and it's a bullet header from Enner Valencia. His second goal for the club. The two summer signings, Enner Valencia.
Fernandez. Are you Feghouli? That is a really good goal. Terrific play from West Ham. And a tidy finish at the end of it from Feghouli.
Straight down the middle, and Mee has to get there and hasn't. Antonio with a real chance. Pope only got a touch to it, and Antonio scores. His first goal of the season gives West Ham United the lead. Talk about Route 1. It's launched downfield by Joe Hart, and Ben Mee didn't deal with it, and Antonio sensed something might be on. Pope couldn't stop him.
That was our top 5 goals against Burnley. Anton, we're going to play a little game now. Classic word association. I'm going to name an ex-teammate or an ex-manager you play with at West Ham, and I just want, right off the top of your head, a word or a couple of words about that individual. You ready to play?
Yep.
Thomas Repka.
Crazy.
Steve Lomas.
Moni.
Nigel Reo-Coker.
Powerhouse.
Alan Pardew.
Chocolate.
Love that.
Joe Cole.
Skills.
Christian Daly.
Physique.
Mark Noble.
West Ham.
Teddy Sheringham.
Technique.
Carlos Tevez.
Eagle talons.
Remember them feet, bro?
Because he had disgusting
He had
feet.
these claws, boy. They were like that. It's like he was perched up on a branch.
Talons, mate.
Talons, bro. But he's a G, though. He's a G.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind them talons, to be honest.
Alan Kirbishley.
Charlton.
Wow.
Jeremy Aladier.
Playboy.
Ooh. Lionel Scaloni.
Kick the ball out of play.
Yossi Benayoun.
The king.
Paul Konchesky.
Bald head.
And lastly, Carlton Cole.
I'll be careful. Oh my God. Beetle.
Plates of meat.
Plates of meat.
Yeah, his feet.
Our next guest is a lifelong Hammer. He came through the academy only to leave to Charlton before coming back to the Hammers in 2005. We caught up with Paul Konchesky. Welcome to the show, Paul Konchesky. How are we doing, Paul?
All good, guys. Thank you. How are yourselves?
Yes, really well. Let's clear it up. First question, was it a shot, was it a cross? Come on, tell the truth.
Now Konchesky lending his support down the left. Oh, it's in! Paul Konchesky has conjured up an incredible goal. Did he mean it? Was it a cross? Was it a shot? He doesn't care right now.
Anton can back me. It was a shot.
We're talking, of course, about the 2006 FA Cup final. Konch, when you scored that, edging towards the end of the game, you boys must have thought we've won the FA Cup here.
Yeah, definitely. To be fair, when you look back now, I thought my goal was a lot later into the game than when it was. So knowing there was still like nearly half hour to go, it was a killer, really, looking back now.
You played left back, obviously, on the day. I was looking at the Wikipedia of the final earlier, and it looks like you were up against Steven Gerrard. I remember him being more in the middle, but so were you and Gerrard head to head? He didn't have a bad game, did he, as I recall?
You'd say that now, he didn't have a bad game, but up until then, I don't think I knew he was playing, to be honest. But yeah, listen, he played.
It's true, though. It's true,
Was he quiet the whole game?
He was quiet in the game. He was quiet.
Yeah, he played up against me, so it was like obviously Steve played on the right until a bit later on, and he went centrally.
We should have moved you into the middle. Maybe that was the answer.
Yeah.
Little Jack the Russell round his ankles.
We've got to talk about how that game ended. Obviously, with penalties, we've got two of the penalty takers here. I just wanted to know, did we practice penalties at all before the game?
I can't remember, did we, Konch?
I don't think as a group. I think individually we might have, if we thought we had a chance of taking one. So obviously me and Anton didn't think we'd have a chance. So
I'll be honest with you, I went up before our captain on the day. So like, I was thinking.
You stepped up though. You stepped up.
You know what I mean?
Stepped up to the plate.
How did you do penalties? Did someone just like Pardew just come around with a notepad going, who wants one?
We had it set up and everything, and he was going, who wants one? And I think you put your hand up and said, I'll take one. So you went down, and it got to the fifth one, and no one's putting their hand up. So I just said, I'll have it. I just said, I'll take this one. So like, and then we had.
As you do. You know what this is like, Larry, isn't he? Just,
then we had the list.
Yeah.
And that's how it come out.
Oh man,
Brilliant.
But it was still a fantastic occasion as a West Ham fan, obviously. And Konch, you're a lifelong West Ham fan. I presume you watched the Chelsea game.
I did, yeah. I thought the boys were fantastic. They dug in deep, and I think they got what they deserved in the end of it last night.
Konch, we've got Anton and Carlton Cole in the studio today. Do you want to grasp them up with any good stories from your playing days?
To be fair, I've known Coley. Obviously, we played at Charlton together, and Anton at West Ham was obviously one of the boys in the dressing room that tried to get everyone going and was like a joker, really.
Hey, do you know what? That's what I hear a lot of. I don't hear he's a good player. They say he was a joker in the dressing room. Konch, what's up with you?
But one thing about Anton, Konch, you can always say you could rely on him and coming in to do a great job for the team. And he did speak well and helped the whole team, galvanise the team sometimes when we were feeling a little bit low.
Oh yeah, definitely. Playing wise, he was top class. You know, every time he played, especially with me at West Ham, I loved playing with him. Like he says, he was a great talker. He led by example.
Konch as well. I can't get used to seeing you with hair. I can't believe you had hair in your locker your whole career.
Konch,
I know you're retired.
Do you know, Konch, let me tell you something. Yeah, you know I felt betrayed when I seen you crop up with hair. I thought you was with me all these years. Yeah. All of a sudden, you said, "Nah, Cole, I'm leaving you behind, mate. I'm growing some hair. I've got some follicles left. What's wrong with you?"
Because all your time at West Ham, you never had a single hair. You were completely shaved bald the whole time.
Nah. So when I was obviously younger, and I used to try and grow it, but I've got a caslick. So when you're younger, I couldn't have that bit sticking up. So I just used to always shave it off. It was only until one summer that I thought all through the summer I'm going to grow it. And then obviously I didn't look back, and that's when I come back with hair.
The rest is history. Konch, obviously, like I say, lifelong West Ham fan. Who was your favourite player growing up?
I used to obviously go to the games, and I used to idolise Julian Dix really, just because obviously a left back, he had a great left foot, and I liked the way he played.
And who would you say was your most underrated teammate that you played with at West Ham? Obviously, maybe let's discount Anton. We've bigged him up enough. Who do you think, like all the players you played with, who was really underrated?
Probably Hayden Mullins.
Yes. Yeah.
He used to do a great job in there, you know, and kept quiet, and he was quite a quiet lad. Just went under the radar, but he knew what the team needed, and what he done well helped the team, I think.
I agree with you though. I think for me personally, he was our most important player in that squad, in that team, in that starting 11. He was our most important player.
Yeah.
He done things that only a footballer on the pitch would understand and would appreciate.
And he had skill.
The other thing as well, he was suspended for that FA Cup final in 2006. Can we speculate that maybe it would have been a different result had he been there?
He would have blocked that shot.
And Konch, what would you say was your favourite West Ham match that you played in?
Probably the final, let's be honest. It's very rare that, for me anyway, to play for the club I supported as a kid, to get to a cup final and lose the way we did was obviously gutting for myself, but to play for my club in a cup final was probably one of the greatest times at the club for me.
Fantastic. So looking ahead, we're recording this after the Chelsea game but before the Newcastle game, so we're focusing on the Burnley game now, our next home game. Konch, how do you see that game going?
That's a massive lift from the win against Chelsea. So you've got to be looking to go into that game now with the confidence got to be sky high. Especially coming off the back of that win against them. And I only see one team winning there, especially being at home as well. And like I say, I think the lads have got that confidence now, and that's the win they needed, and we can bounce and build on that 3 points.
Fantastic stuff. Thank you very much, Paul Konchesky.
Cheers, Konch.
Cheers, Konch.
Cheers, boys.
All right then, that's it for today's show. Carlton, I feel like we've learned a lot. Paul Konchesky grows hair. Carlos Tevez has little claw feet.
I've
Joe
got
Cole on
slabs.
the rosé.
Yeah, I've got slabs. I've got everything going on. Well, I've got everything negative going on. According to him.
Yeah, great stuff. Thank you, Anton, for being here. Some fantastic insights and memories. And thank you to our other guests too, Paul Konchesky and Joe Cole. Up next, Burnley, 6 p.m. on Wednesday. We'll be back for the Watford game. Hopefully we'll have a few points in our pocket by then. Until then, thank you for joining us, and come on, you Irons.
Oh, and Antovic is in here. Mistake by Burnley. 1-0 West Ham. There's a little flick from Ayew. Beautiful for Gooley. What a goal. Anderson. Chance for